We're going to start on Channel 4 streaming with a new drama which arrived on Wednesday the 29th of January as a box set. It's called Brian and Maggie, and here's a clip.
When you think of the news, how it sounds, doesn't sound like me.
But you sound like our audience.
Your first guest should be someone quite loud, drawing some press.
So, here we are.
I enjoyed that.
Well, then we should do it again sometime.
He's a journalist at the end of the day.
These people must always be kept at arm's length. Are we all ready to face the lens of history?
Well, this has a lot to recommend it, Hannah. Well, it stars Steve Coogan, who is playing journalist Brian Walden, and of course he's previously played Jimmy Savile, didn't he, to great acclaim, and he did start out to some extent as an impressionist, so he's well qualified to impersonate a real person. And you've got Harriet as former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. It's written by the brilliant James Graham, who he wrote Sherwood, but he's done a lot of plays, including one that was set in the whips' offices in the Houses of Parliament in sort of the days of Harold Wilson, just as Thatcher was about to come to power. So this is very much in his wheelhouse, though it was kind of Coogan that kind of got the project going. Anyway, long story short, it's the story of the relationship between Walden, who I didn't realise had actually been a Labour MP before he became a sort of political pundit and interviewer on television, and Maggie Thatcher, and it's sort of leading up to this particularly important interview that was sort of seen as the beginning of the end of Thatcher. It was after her Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, had resigned. So yeah, it's a very interesting look back at a particular moment in time. I mean, interestingly, they were actually quite friendly, Walden and Thatcher, up until that point, I should add. Coogan is great as Walden. And I think, I mean, the people we've had previously playing the Iron Lady, well, you've had Meryl Streep, you've had Gillian Anderson. I think Harriet Walter does a really, really good job. Impressive. So, I mean, I remember Brian from his days on the telly, and I remember this interview, actually. And you're going to see quite a few other real-life characters, including, Nigel Lawson is played by Ivan Kay. You've got Bernard Ingham, who was Thatcher's press secretary, played by Paul Clayton of Peep Show fame. Geoffrey Howe, of course, a Thatcher ally, played by Paul Higgins. So, yeah, if you're interested in British politics, this is really good. What did you think?
I thought it was good, actually. I agree with you. But I was particularly interested in Harriet's role, as you say, as the Iron Lady, because it's quite a role, isn't it, in terms of the amount of amazing people that have done it previously and who have done well. And it's really easy to kind of pull them apart and say that, Gillian Anderson, she overplayed it slightly, when actually, really, when you watched it, you just totally bought into it, that it was Margaret Thatcher. And I think Harriet did a really good job. And I watched an interview with her just the other day, and they showed kind of the before and after, and obviously she was sat there talking as her, and then her as Margaret Thatcher. And they've done a really, really good job, haven't they, with the makeup and absolutely everything that goes with it. So there's kind of like an immediate buy-in in terms of how she looks. But also she was saying that she approached this character in the same way she approaches any character that she plays, which is just to kind of get inside their head, to try and become that person, and to try and really understand, their mannerisms and absolutely everything. And I think that's why this is so credible, because I think she's done a really good job in that research piece ahead of time. Because, as I say, I think taking on a part like this after so many others, it is really tricky. And kind of, if you don't do it well, you're going to come under some criticism for it. And I certainly don't think she will, and she certainly hasn't from what I've seen. So I think it is interesting, because it is a bit of a political love story. It is telling us stuff that this is before my time, but it's taught me a lot of what was going on there and the intricacies of that relationship. So yeah, I think people will really enjoy it, no matter your political values.